high school diploma, a tuition-free associate's degree, and valuable internship experience, students at Port Richmond High School will be able to achieve all that and more in just 6 years through an exciting new program.
What makes this different than most programs, like kids taking college credits, is that they're dual crediting a lot of the college classes they take, so they'll be taking courses on the campus of the College of Staten Island.
Oh, okay.
That will also work towards crediting them in high school, so that way in doing their college credits they're accumulating their high school credits.
Welcome to the Staten Island Advances from the Scene, a podcast bringing you an inside look at the biggest stories on Staten Island with the reporters who cover them. I'm your host, Erik Bascome, and this week I'm joined by Staten Island Advance Education and Community News reporter Annalise Knudson to discuss Port Richmond High School's new P-Tech program, which allows students to earn a college degree and get a jump start on their career. Thanks for joining me today, Annalise. You know, with the school year almost over now, it must feel like almost seeing the light at the end of the tunnel as the education reporter. I'm curious, having covered the school for so many years for us now, how does it kind of compare this year to last year when so much was still constantly changing during the early stages of the pandemic? Did it feel a little more normal?
This year for sure felt more normal than the last couple years, and I think that has a lot to do with me finally being able to go back into schools because, we had that remote year and then we had the hybrid learning, and this was the first school year we actually had everyone back in person. And, with the more recent visits without the masks, it kind of feels like we're back in 2019, like pre-pandemic times. So it's been really great to be able to go back. And I know the schools are really excited to have us back and to be able to cover the stories that we used to again and not have the focus be on the pandemic anymore and back to where they belong, back on the schools and what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. It actually leads kind of perfectly into, what we're talking about today, because you did make a recent visit to Port Richmond High School to take a look at this new program that you had been reporting on for a couple of years, but then it had started during the pandemic, so we couldn't really get in there like we could. So now having that opportunity again, it really does open up our reporting, I think, in a way that was limited during the pandemic, and it also allows these schools to kind of share what they're doing with us. And like you said, put the spotlight more on what it should be. Education news should be about the students, the teachers, the programs. It shouldn't be about, does my kid have to wear a mask? Are there going to be a vaccine mandate for prom or whatever it might be? So it's nice to kind of have things back and focused on what they should be focused on. So thank you for joining me today. I wanted to have you on to talk about, like we mentioned, this new P-Tech program at Port Richmond High School. First, can you kind of just tell us what it is? I mean, what does P-Tech stand for? What is this program? And just a brief overview.
Sure. So the program is P-Tech, and that stands for Pathways to Technology Early College High School. And it's basically a program that, like you kind of mentioned before, it allows you to earn a high school diploma like you normally would in the 4 years of high school, but you also have the opportunity to earn an associate degree within 6 years. So it's a 6-year program. People are able to take college courses, do internships. It's kind of like a brief overview. And I know we're going to be talking a little bit more about, the specifics of it, but it's a new program. It's only started in 2020, and it's in progress. It's always changing for right now because it's new for here. It's new for Staten Island. I know we mentioned it's at Port Richmond, so Port Richmond High School is the only school on Staten Island that has this program.
Right. And so my understanding is that there's kind of two fields to this, right? That the students are able to choose pretty early on, and that will kind of dictate what they're doing moving forward. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So actually in 2020, students only had one career pathway they could choose, and that was computer science. But now that they've expanded and they're getting that along, they have two pathways. So in addition to computer science, they also have medical science, and the pathway you choose will depend what associate degree you get. So if you go into computer science, you'll get a computer technology associate degree. Medical science, you'll get that liberal sciences degree. So again, depending on the pathway you choose, there's a lot of differences between the pathways.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest benefits of this program for the students certainly is the opportunity to kind of get those college credits. And I know that some of the college credits will be acquired while they're still in the high school ages, right? And they'll be doing this dual crediting thing that you had spoken to the coordinator about, and then the rest will be done at CSI, right, who is one of the partner organizations in this. So can you just talk to us a little bit about how that will work in terms of the college credit and then finishing that up afterwards?
It's different than taking a college course in high school, because we know a lot of schools on Staten Island do offer college courses.
Michael Spaventa is the P-Tech coordinator at Port Richmond High School.
What makes this different than most programs, like kids taking college credits, is that they're dual crediting a lot of the college classes they take. So they'll be taking courses on the campus of the College of Staten Island.
Oh, okay.
That will also work towards crediting them in high school. So that way, in doing their college credits or accumulating their high school credits, it allows them to work through their degree. It is a 6-year program, but students have the opportunity to finish their degree sooner than the end of the 6th year.
So it's kind of allowing students to not have to take the same classes when they go to college. Because a lot of students feel when you go to college, you're kind of repeating some of the classes you took in high school.
Right.
So it kind of prevents that. It's like 2 birds with 1 stone, right? So they're able to do that. They'll be taking it over the summer. They'll be taking it during the school year. Again, a lot of the logistics are still being worked out because this is the first cohort. So those students will be able to go to the College of Staten Island and take the courses, which I think is amazing and a really good experience for students to be able to go to college campuses and take those courses. And I know you mentioned about what happens after the 4 years. So students in the program, it's a 6-year program, but students will graduate after 4 years with their high school diploma and their peers. They'll finish out their associate degree at College of Staten Island, but still have the support from P-Tech. So they'll still have the guidance counselor. They'll still have Michael Spaventa, the coordinator, as their support. He even mentioned you could finish your associate degree in less than 6 years.
Yeah.
So the hope is that, maybe it'll take them maybe 1 extra year. But I think the bottom line is, however long it takes, you're getting it for free.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, you can't get any better than that. Once you're done with the program, if you want to continue your education, you're already halfway there to getting a 4-year bachelor degree. You're only paying for 2 more years of school, technically. So I think it's really, really great for them.
Yeah, no, that's a great opportunity. Any chance for students to get credits ahead of time before they get into college, I think is great, which I'm sure we'll touch on a little bit later as well. But let's move on to the internship aspect, because I think that this is also really exciting. And so the program is going to kind of connect these students with various industry partners. They've already named a few of them that they have, and then they're going to kind of set them up with relevant internships, either in that medical science field or in that computer science field like you talked about. So can you give us some examples of companies that are signed on to this so far, and what kind of experience these students can expect?
Again, we're still kind of in the early stages. When I visited Port Richmond, I spoke to a lot of students in that first cohort. They're in 10th grade, and they're getting to that point where they're starting to think about the internships. So through that partnership, we have Northwell Health, which is Staten Island University Hospital in Staten Island here. We also have Sun River Health, and we have New York Power Authority. So, despite computer science and medical science being slightly different, students will get the opportunity to, whichever pathway to partner or intern with Northwell Health. The way that Michael Spaventa, the coordinator, explained it to me was that depending on the pathway you choose, you would have an internship that matched your pathway. So whether that's like if you're in the medical sciences pathway, you would have the patient serving side. So you would be working with maybe some nurses and doctors, working with the patients on that end. Whereas if you're in computer science, maybe you're doing the programming aspects. You're kind of behind the scenes. I feel like we don't really hear a lot about programming when we think about hospital, but things are going on. They use computers. They use a lot of technology in hospitals. So I'm assuming that would be something that they would be doing. Again, we don't really know exactly what they're doing because they haven't had an internship yet. So again, the way that Spaventa explained it was they're still working out the kinks, they're still working out the details, and they're still working with Northwell Health to kind of figure out where students could partner with or get mentors. This is a really great mentoring opportunity. And New York Power Authority is also a great pathway for computer science students as well for the programming aspect. And he also said, if students want to do an internship with Northwell Health 1 semester and they say, I want to try out New York Power Authority, they have the option. So they're not limited by one or the other. They do have the opportunity to do both. As long as that availability is there and the opportunity is there, they want to give them as many opportunities as possible.
Yeah, and I think that aspect of it is so important because these kids are still so young, right? And that they're going to be getting this internship experience early on, but that's still a point in time where you're figuring out what you want to do and which paths are right for you. I mean, I don't think most people know exactly where they're going to end up when they're 18, 19, 20 years old. So getting as much internship experience as possible and kind of diversifying your experience in that way, I think is just going to be so valuable to them.
We'll be right back. The Mayor of Maple Avenue is a powerful multi-part podcast about Sean Sinisi, a victim of former Penn State football coach Jerry Sandusky, who was arrested 10 years ago for numerous child sexual abuse charges. The podcast series is written and hosted by Pulitzer Prize-winning reporter Sarah Ganim, who takes listeners into the world of addiction rehabilitation, where society can be quick to celebrate the consequences for abusers while not addressing the needs of their victims. Subscribe now to The Mayor of Maple Avenue wherever you get your podcasts.
Let's talk about that visit to the school because that's kind of what prompted me having you on. I saw the article, it just posted a couple days ago. Please go check that out to all the listeners. So you went to the school physically again for the first time, back after COVID, just to kind of, talk to some program coordinators, talk to the students, go to some classes, I imagine. Just tell us about your visit, what you saw and heard while you were there.
I met with the inaugural class. That was the class that came in 2020, 2021 school year. They're in 10th grade now. And there's only about 30 kids in the program. Again, it was the first year that they were offering it. And the students that I spoke to, and I kind of asked them, I was like, hey, how has it been this year when we compare it to what it was like last year? And they said the difference is just incredible for them to be in person and be able to ask the questions they need, and having the support of their teachers and even their classmates, they said, have been so amazing to be able to ask questions and get that help. A lot of them said that they entered the program because it was something they were interested in before they came to high school. Maybe they were interested in computer science and it led them to that. So the classroom, these kids stay with the same classmates all day. So wow. It's kind of like, their own little unit. I was like, you have kind of like a special bond.
Yeah.
Because you're with each other all day. And these kids, they get the computers. I don't know if I mentioned that before. Mm-hmm. They do get their own computer when they enter the program. So if you're in computer science, you get the laptop, the MacBook, and then if you are in the medical sciences, you get the Chromebook, and that converts into that iPad, so they're able to draw and stuff on that. So I thought that was really cool. But yeah, I mean, they're just feeling really excited because the first 2 years are very doing the basics. Now they're in the part where they're starting to think about the college courses. They're starting to think about the internships and truly thinking about what they want to do. And, it's only going to get more exciting from here. So we're excited to see what happens after.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's interesting that you mentioned that this, a lot of the students had mentioned, these were things that I was kind of interested in to begin with, because I think these are such important fields, especially with the way that our world is trending right now. Everything is online. There's logistical aspects to everything. So that's something that obviously there's going to be a huge market for. And then health sciences, medical sciences, just look at the past couple of years. I think actually that's probably inspired more people to kind of get into the medical profession and to try and help people, even if they don't necessarily want to be a doctor or want to be a nurse, but just kind of being in that field and being able to help people in that way after seeing, the strain that's been put on that industry in the past year. So I think that's really interesting that these students were kind of into it already. And then I'm sure that their parents are into it too, because like you said, you're getting the free associate's degree. And then if you do want to continue from there, you're halfway to a bachelor's and you only have to pay for 2 years maybe of tuition as opposed to the full 4. So it seems kind of like a win-win for these people, for the families in general. Let's talk a little bit more about that college credits, internship experience, all of that kind of stuff, because to me, that's like the biggest thing with this, right? So why do you think that that's so important and kind of having that opportunity at such a young age? And how do you think that'll benefit them as they move into their careers?
When I was talking to them, they basically said that they feel like they're getting ahead of the game. And I think that's the best way to describe it, because you're getting internships in high school. When we think about internships, we think, okay, when we were in college, that's the opportunity. That's usually where we'll get the internship there. And this is literally opening the door for them. They're getting the opportunities through the program. So they're not seeking it out on their own. They have the support of the school, they have the support of the program, the coordinators and the guidance counselors. They're the ones saying, here are the opportunities, you choose. Now it's up to you to do what you want to do. And I think, having the internship is just, it's a game changer, especially we think about they're getting the associate degree. Maybe they want to continue their college education somewhere else. They're going to go and apply to colleges already having internship experience, already having 2 years of school under their belt. When we think about the importance of it, especially the fields like you mentioned before, computer science, medical science, these are growing fields. They're going to continue to grow. Having that step in the door already, just basically being given to you, it's just amazing. For the students who really, really feel like this is something they want to do, there's nothing better than that. And you know what? If they take an internship and they realize, maybe I would like it in a different type of job, or maybe a different type of career or something similar in the field, maybe not exactly what they were doing, they have that experience before they go to college. A lot of people don't get that at like 14, 15.
No, absolutely not. But yeah, speaking from personal experience, I know how beneficial that kind of stuff can be in terms of college credits. I graduated from the IB program at Curtis High School. I went into college with over 30 credits already, essentially a full year's worth. If I wanted to graduate early, like you had mentioned earlier, I could have done that. What I ended up doing, which a lot of people end up doing as well, is that they take less credit, so it's not as stressful of a workload as you're going through the 4 years. So maybe you're taking 12 credits a semester instead of 15. You don't have necessarily as much work. You can focus in on what you really want to focus on, or like you said, you can go quickly and graduate early and get out into the field. And then in terms of the internship experience, both of us know this, right? Because we were both interns here, and here we are 5-6 years later, whatever it might be. So the internship experience, getting the work in that professional setting, and then also just having your foot in the door. And, we lucked out. There were openings available after our internships, and we were lucky enough to get those positions. And here we are now. So between the college credits and the internship opportunity, it's just going to make it so much easier for these kids, I think, when they are finally trying to transition into the quote unquote real world and get their careers started.
And it's funny you say that, because I took college credits in high school and I had to pay for them.
Oh,
and
wow.
I went into college with also 30 credits, and I ended up finishing in 3 years. So unlike you, I rushed through to get my degree early.
Yeah, that does not surprise me.
But when I spoke to the coordinators of this program, and I said, wow, I wish I had something like this.
Yeah, of course.
To have credits for free, 2 years.
Free credits.
That's just, it's incredible. It really is.
You've been covering this story for years, since the program was first announced, since they were trying to get it off the ground. And it kind of dates back to some advocacy efforts from our former borough president, James Otto. Can you walk us through a little bit of how this came to be? Yeah,
so we're talking years and years back, maybe 4 or 5 years. And so there's P-TECH programs citywide. There's at least one in every borough. And up until 2020, Staten Island was the only borough, as usual, that did not have a P-TECH program. And our former borough president was basically saying, what's up with that? How come we don't have that? Our students deserve to have the same opportunities as every other borough, and he's correct. And he talked to then Chancellor Richard Carranza. I think he was just coming in as the new chancellor at the time. And he was saying, listen, every borough has it. We're getting left behind again. Let's make this happen. And Carranza said, okay, let's make it happen. So that just began the process of saying, okay, where can we put a program? Unlike the other boroughs have standalone P-TECH schools. So the entire school offers this program. What they did here was, instead of building a new high school, which, that's a lot of money, a lot of cost, they said, let's put the program into an existing high school. And Port Richmond High School was the lucky school that got it. I think a lot of it had to do with, the fact that it doesn't have the CTE programs as much as, say, Ralph McKee or Curtis High School. But they also wanted to provide opportunities for students in the school. So I think it was, they started out with the 30 students in the first year, and I think there's about 70 in the second cohort, and things will continue to increase. The school coordinator basically said to me that he hopes that if they get a lot of interest, that a lot of it has to do with making sure they have enough people to teach the students.
Yeah.
So there's always room to expand. It's more so making sure they have people to teach the students. And I think he basically said like that's a good problem to have more interest.
Absolutely,
from
yeah.
students. So this has been years of work in progress, and I'm so happy that the pandemic didn't delay it, which was, I think, a fear that I had, because it was always going to be coming in 2021 school year, and despite the pandemic, it happened anyway. So it's good to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure Jimmy is very proud of that work. He's seeing a lot of things that he had been advocating for during his time in office kind of coming to fruition now, which must be very nice. And so before we go, I'm just kind of curious, are there any other Staten Island schools that are offering similar programs like this? Or is there any chance that we might see this P-TECH program expanded in other places in the borough?
I don't know if we would see it expanded to other borough schools. Not at this point. I think, we're still in like the first 2 years of the program, and it's kind of like an inside expansion right now. I think they'll see how, we haven't even gotten past, the 6 years.
Yeah,
so
we haven't done a full cycle.
We haven't seen a full cycle yet. So I think, before it could ever be expanded, if that was an option, we would have to see how successful it is, if the students are enjoying it, if they're getting their associates in the 6 years or less. And probably just expand it within Port Richmond.
Right.
We could see in a decade from now that this program is thriving, and that maybe a third of the school population is in a P-TECH program. You know what I mean? Do I think it will be expanded to other borough schools? I'm not saying it's not a possibility, because the other boroughs have the standalones and we have programs within schools. So I think it's a possibility. It could be. In terms of like similar programs, there's nothing like P-TECH out there on the borough. We do have other programs, of course, through the College Now, which is through CSI as well, getting those credits. And, like the 30,000 degree program through CSI, making sure students have access to college credits for free while they're in high school, but you're not getting, the associate degree.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you're not getting all
the
those
full
credits.
Experience too.
So
you're
like,
not quite getting.
it's not unusual to hear that some Staten Island schools do offer college courses for students, and students do take advantage of that. But maybe closer to like 15 credits probably. So they're not getting that associate degree. They're getting the associate degree, which is exciting.
Yeah, the associate's degree, the internship opportunities, the high school diploma, all kind of wrapped in one in this very nice comprehensive program where they have that support system like you mentioned. So it sounds fantastic, and I really want to thank you for joining me today, Annalise, and it was great catching up with you as always, and I hope to have you back on again soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Thank you for listening to the Staten Island Advances from the Scene. If you like what you've heard, please make sure to rate and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and visit silive.com for the latest on all these stories and more. Thank you for supporting local journalism.